So now we're going to wrap the roof. Now the roof is, again, a full print graphic, obviously, and we're going to wrap it exactly like the hood. Okay, and how we're going to do it is we're going to create the permanent hinge. So Carlos and I are going to make a permanent hinge there with a squeegee stroke. But before we make this permanent hinge, we're going to come to the antenna, and we're going to, with a water-soluble pen, draw the shape of the antenna out, move it to the glass, cut it out beforehand, roughly the shape, just a little bit smaller than the base here. Once we make that transition, it's technically a relief cut. Set our magnets here, flip the panel over, remove the backing paper, cut it, get the material around the antenna, and then we're going to create my 4 triangles. Okay, so we're going to pull this way, this way, this way, and this way, and we're going to make the roof flat. Because the idea is the triangles make any kind of object flat, the material on it. So again, whether it's a bumper, a roof, or a hood, same logic. Again, that 4 triangle system, but again, making that relief cut makes the roof flat. Once we work here, we're going to create glass over the entire hood, then we're going to squeegee. So only squeegee once the material is on flat. Then what you're going to see is you're going to, instead of working and fighting the material into this gap, I talked about at the intro, is we're going to cut on this side of the gap and we're going to let the material relax it. So we're going to do another relief cut on the side. But before we work the flat sides, which is the easiest, we're going to focus on the corners. We have 4 corners, 1, 2, 3, 4. We're going to do a nice good triangle technique on the corners, make the corners flat and wrinkle free, then do the flat. Never do the flat and work to the corners. Once we do this section here, we're going to tuck the material into the base, cut the excess material away. At the front, we're going to use a tucking tool, tuck it under the molding. At this case, on the back, there's no molding, so we're going to cut on the glass. Treat it like what's called an empty solid. So cut on the window, tuck it in, done. Is it going to get full coverage, at the base of the window? No, but this is a full print. There's no way that we're going to take the time to wrap deep inside the window because that's only for color change. So again, very good distinction there. But again, lots of different techniques here. But again, once we make it flat with triangles, using relief cuts and not fighting more than we need to. That's what we're going to show you right now.
So first off, Carlos is lowering the surface energy of the antenna. What I really want you to pay attention to notice how when he's putting the masking tape there, he's not going fully to the edge. He's going about 1/8 of an inch or about 2 millimeters from the edge. Really important not to get all the way to the edge because when you go to cut the material, you don't want the masking tape to go underneath the edge of the material there. Then once he gets the bottom portion done, just kind of puts material on top, again tries to get full coverage. Again, very easy, masking tape doesn't take up too much time to put on. Again, very inexpensive, you can even use pre-mask there. Now, while he's finishing up the antenna, I went and grabbed the hood panel, the roof panel, and again, this is really critical to get right here, and I really want you to pay attention. Notice that the white trim was left on the outside of the hood there, so it's a very easy way for me to say, how many inches do you got on there? And he says 2, I got 2 over here. Again, very good to just kind of really get a good read on, how the panel's fitting. You want to get it as symmetrical as possible. Then I take out a tape measure to get more precise. I got 3 inches down there, I got 2 inches at the top. Carlos does the same on his side. So once we get kind of set and we're good, top to bottom, left to right, kind of making any kind of adjustments that we need to make, I'm going to take magnets and kind of just hold it on the roof. So again, just double checking everything. Carlos double checks everything. Again, I don't want to go too critical here, and it doesn't have to be precise at this point, but precise enough for me to put my magnets and then make some marks, because what I want to do is make a relief cut to work around the antenna. I think what you're going to see here is a very quick, easy way to work around the antenna, because taking the antenna off takes a lot of time, and you open the door to kind of getting the roof of the inside of the vehicle dirty, and also damaging the roof panel inside the car. So I think you're going to see here pretty much in real time how to cut this antenna out with a water-soluble pen, making the marks. Again, lots of videos on the Wrap Institute for this. But again, once we make those marks and we have the water-soluble marks on the side so we can quickly kind of place it, move the roof panel down onto the window, because the window is a very safe cutting surface. And again, always double check it, especially if you're using 30-degree blades, but I checked it before, very comfortable about this. And I cut out the shape. You want it to be big enough, obviously, that this relief cut works, but not too big that you come up short. So once we make that cut, and it's an enclosed shape, very important there, we double check the size, and I check the back and the front, and you want about 1/4 inch or about 1/2 centimeter front and back to be safe. We put the magnets back on, and I think it's always a good idea just to add an extra pair of magnets just so you don't want the panel to shift. Nice and easy there. Doesn't take much time to add that, but it can make a big difference here. We're going to remove the backing paper at the same time, and again, obviously we're working together on a roof. I could do this by myself, but it's much more work and energy that I have to put in. Using 2 people here just to kind of get set up is really critical. Once we get the backing paper taken off, I'm going to come back with a zippy or a snitty, run it straight across on the backing paper, really nice, straightforward. Carlos grabs it, brings it across to him, hands it back so I can have it for later. And again, for me, I'm going to set the backing paper so it slides right underneath the car, create a nice professional workspace and safe. We pull it long behind the back, and then what we're going to do is we're going to pick the magnets up and shift it towards the front, because always with this type of antenna too, because it angles back slightly, you want to pull it back towards the front. So work around it, then work towards the front. Now we're going to create our hinge, our permanent hinge. And this is right in front of the raised object. Notice the backing paper is on for the rest of the roof. We're keeping this on, and we're going to work in triangles here. Really important to use triangles so the material doesn't bunch up behind the antenna. Carlos pulls to his corner, I pull to mine, and that makes the back section nice and flat. We just kind of pull it with tension there. Look at the glass. Again, I just kind of surround the antenna, and then to avoid any kind of adhesive lines, which are fairly common today, you want to work into the base of the antenna as quickly as possible so you don't get any of these adhesive lines, which kind of are starting to build up on the film if it bridges any kind of raised object like a door handle or antenna. But once we've tucked it in there nice and clean, no adhesive lines, we're good to go. And that's all about masking tape and getting the right size pre-cut with that relief cut. So again, once it's done, I kind of squeegee my little section there past the permanent hinge to the back. And once it's done, I kind of pick it up, make sure this total glass. Once we're finished there, we're going to pick up the backing paper now and just take off the entire liner. And you're going to generally do this, obviously, if you have air egress and repositionable film or film that's not super hyper aggressive. And that's, for me, an investment on the front end that gets into production where you want to choose the right film. And this is just makes a big difference in terms of how fast the install goes. And again, what we're going to do is the exact same thing as we did on the antenna, is we're going to bust out another triangle. Carlos pulls to his corner, I pull to mine, and by doing that, we have 100% glass on the entire roof. Super easy. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to section it so it's very clear. Carlos has his half, I have my half. Once we've done and we have glass, it's basically if you wrap it a flat board on a sign shop table. Very easy. So again, 100% glass, never squeegee until there's glass. So now I want to show really good techniques for how to cut the excess material away around a roof very clean but get professional results. Again, full print, I'm treating this like an empty solid, cutting on the side of the window, so getting about that 1/4 inch that's going to fold in behind. Now there's this material that's bridging the gap here, so I could pick it up and fight it in, or I can make a relief cut on the side here, and I'm cutting on the driver's side, which is going to give me more than enough film, which is then simply going to be relaxed into that groove there. So again, really critical to make a relief cut there. It just saves a huge amount of time and energy. Make the same kind of cut on the front. The front has rubber molding, do a different approach there. Once you make that cut though, what I want to emphasize is I'm taking my tweezers now and I'm going to do the corner first. Always do the corner first, no different than the hood. So again, I pull towards the camera, kind of pull straight around the corner, and then I squeegee away. Very simple, creates wrinkle-free corners. So pull away in the middle of the corner, and again, lots of videos in the Rep Institute for that. Once I do the corner, look how easily that middle section goes down, and look how easily I simply squeegee away from the corner and don't get wrinkles. So before I get too far to the other corner, I'm going to pick up my tweezers, do it again. Pull, squeegee away, then I work the middle. Very easy because that creates perfect quality. I do the middle first and work to the corner, and I'm going to get just a bunch of wrinkles. So again, that's a really good tip for that. Wrinkles first, flat second. Once I'm in there, I'm going to show later in the Rep Institute how I'm going to finish this section here. But again, cutting that little groove there nice and easy. If you're really insecure about cutting on the car, I highly recommend running knifeless tape. But for this particular roof, there's a nice good groove in there. I'm using a very light touch and a sharp knife. I feel very confident of not cutting directly on the vehicle or doing any kind of damage. Once I make that cut, you want to finish it off. So again, I tucked it into the base of the antenna. And this particular antenna doesn't have any rubber molding, so I'm cutting on the side of the antenna itself, which is creating about 1/8 of an inch or about 2 or 3 millimeters of film, which is then going to tuck underneath the antenna. That's going to give me absolute 100% full coverage. So again, for me, once it's done, it looks like I took the antenna off and wrapped under it, but I didn't. And so for me, that saves huge amounts of time on the install. And that's all about prep and finish. Now at the front, you got the soft rubber molding. So again, I'm using a tucking tool now to kind of pull the rubber away. I cut on the side of the window to create a nice good gap here. And I'm following behind with my squeegee at a 45-degree angle. So again, there's different styles of tucking tools out there. So again, this particular one works really nice because it just pulls it away nice and clean. And again, you definitely want to use plastic when you use this technique here. You use metal and it could really possibly damage the vehicle really easily. So again, before I get to the corner though, I stop and I work from the corner back to the middle. So again, very good about always doing the corner first and then working towards that middle though. So it makes a big difference in terms of quality, especially right there because that's where the customer's getting in day and out. But you see the wrinkle-free corner, absolutely perfect, and then seal the deal behind the rubber. Now once we're done, only when we're done do we start taking off the excess film. Super safe, so I pull off my half, and right there I get to Carlos' side, I leave it for him. And then only now, I've noticed that we haven't even touched the heat gun yet. Now I just get the heat just to make sure that all the material on the corners is happy, look for any type of bubbles and stuff like that. So again, never really using heat to get the material on because we're just using solid techniques, hinges, triangles, relief cuts. And again, you can see how easy and straightforward this is. And again, but you always want to go with heat just to see those bubbles and seal the edges. Thanks for watching. Justin Payton.